Okay, today we're going to be making a tier list based on nightmare difficulty. And we're going to be identifying ghosts through a tier list on their secondary behavior or their behavior. How easy is it to identify that last piece of evidence that you need if you're playing on nightmare difficulty only? So first we're going to start off with Banshee. I feel like Banshee is probably going to be... Banshee's pretty easy, right? Banshee's simply sitting in a room or finding in the ghost room, sitting there with a paramic. And then you're going to get, like, eventually you're going to get a Banshee wail. Like, I think if you're sitting there like maybe 5 times and you haven't heard it, you can go ahead and just mark that out, right? So I think Banshee is pretty easy to identify. Remember, this is identifying ghosts on nightmare difficulty based on secondary type behavior, right? Now a demon becomes a little tricky. So a demon, I feel like a demon might be a little B tier. So a demon can hunt you, it can hunt you whenever. So if you walk in and you're instantly hunted, then you're like, oh, well, it's a demon. It could technically be a mimic. But I think I'm gonna go with maybe B for demon. Because a demon can hunt you, like, if you're at 70% or below, a demon just, like, whenever. And it's also kind of easy to identify. I might move this up to A. But you can easily identify a demon based on crucifix placement in a ghost room. So if you leave a little bit of space in a room, you'll have that little circle around it. Then it eats a crucifix. Then it's pretty easily identifiable that way, right? So I think demon might be B. Now there's some other stuff, you know, like with aggression, but I mean, I had an aggressive Obake today. You know, it just kind of depends. A Dio, I feel like Dio is going to be S tier if you're including cursed objects and getting hunted. So a Dio's pretty easy. Also a thing, it's kind of a rare ability, but if you're able to physically be in like a tiny room with a Dio, and remember, a Dio is for spirit box evidence. But there's also a rare ability a Dio has. If you're within, I don't know how many meters, they don't give us measuring, you know, I don't have a measuring tape. I don't know. But every once in a while, if you're within, there's a small chance, if you're within a certain range of a Dio, that it will do this, it'll do this weird gurgly sound, right? So I think Dio's pretty easy to identify through a hunt. And I mean, if you're trying to do just the spirit box, it's probably D, because I've only seen this, I don't know, I have over 500 hours. I've only heard the Dio on the spirit box, the special ability, just a few times, to be honest. Now a Goryo it's forced evidence dots. So you're always going to have to find it on that. So I'm going to put Goryo probably down, I think D tier, man. Well, actually, hold up. Maybe I'll throw Goryo around C. Because Goryo is forced dots evidence. If you're ever in a room, you're ever in the ghost room and you see dots, then you can go ahead and cross that off. If every time you're out in the truck looking for stuff and you see it on dots, but you've never seen it in person, then you've got yourself a Goryo. Goryos, to be honest, are kind of boring. There's nothing really particular about them that makes them exciting to figure out that last piece of evidence, right? The only thing you're really looking out for with a Goryo is that dots in person or on camera. So I'm gonna leave this like probably, I think it's okay, but sometimes you can have a pretty frustrating Goryo. You'll be waiting and just never see dots, because you're in the house. You're not sitting out in the truck for 10 minutes at a time. Okay, up next we have Hantu. Again, Hantu is forced freezing temperatures, and if you're including hunts into this, which I kind of am including hunts, I think Hantu is probably I'm going to put A. I'm going to put Hantu at A tier. Now, why? If you're getting hunted by Hantu, it will never speed up when it has line of sight. It's a little faster in the ghost room. And the reason I didn't put this at S tier is because there's another thing you have to do, which is turn the breaker off. If you have the breaker off, the house is colder, the Hantu is going to move a little quicker, but it's also going to have freezing breath. You're going to see this puff of smoke coming out of its eyes. A Jinn runs at you faster. I'm gonna put Jinn, I think, at B tier, because a Jinn has an ability when the breaker is on. Okay, when the breaker is on, I think a lot of people just, you cross a Jinn off when the breaker gets shut off, because you're sitting around and you're waiting and the breaker goes off, like, well, not a Jinn. So a Jinn will have the ability when the breaker's on to just sap your sanity by like 25%, right? So not a whole lot that's really special about them. Mare, I think Mare might actually go down in D tier. Now, again, this is like if you're trying to figure out through secondary type behavior, maybe you're including a hunt, maybe it's a little easier. Maybe I'll put it up here at C. Because a Mare, if you turn a light off, a Mare has a chance to hunt you, I think, at 70% or below sanity. I might be wrong. Please don't come at me. You can correct me in the comments, though. But as far as, like, there's a rare chance you could turn a light on and a Mare will instantly turn it back off. But that's a pretty rare occurrence. And technically, there is also a chance that it can be just a regular ghost event. I've been bamboozled by this before. A Mimic. Now, a Mimic, I'm going to put an S tier, because if you're playing on Nightmare difficulty, remember, Nightmare difficulty, and Mimic's pretty easy, because you're going to end up with 3 pieces of evidence, right? You're going to end up with a Ghost Orb, freezing temperatures, UV, or Spirit Box, right? You're going to get 3 pieces of evidence on Nightmare. If you're playing on Insanity, you're going to get 2 evidence. It's always going to be Ghost Orbs. So I think Mimic is pretty easy. Now, if we're talking about behavior, maybe I put it around here in, like, B tier, because it's like, well, it's acting like a twin. It's acting like this. It's acting like that. It's acting like a demon. I've been bamboozled by a Mimic demon before. So, but in regards to this, I'd say if you're going in on Nightmare difficulty, boom. Mimic, you got 3 pieces of evidence. A Moroi. I would say a Moroi, if we're including hunts in this, and I'm including hunts in most of these, right? A Mare doesn't have anything special with it when it's hunting. A Goryo, nothing special. These are kind of regular ghosts when they're hunting. Now, a Jinn can be pretty fast, but... So I just lost what I had. Okay, boop, 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 boop. Okay, let me pause this real quick. So a Moroi is kind of special. A Moroi at 100% sanity is pretty slow. It's forced evidence, Spirit Box. But when you get Spirit Box, I want to kind of put this around B tier. I think a lot of these might end up B. So forced Spirit Box, but it also curses you. So if you start off at 100% sanity on Nightmare, and you get a Spirit Box response, you can hang out in the house. And then you go out, like if you have the lights on, you're trying to conserve your sanity and stuff, and you go outside and you're like, oh man, my sanity's dropped quite a bit. Now, if we include, I might put it up actually at A tier, because there's a little secret you can do. A Moroi, if you're at 0 sanity, or like, I think it's like 25 or below, a Moroi's faster. 0 is pretty fast. But you can actually hide in a closet, let the Moroi hunt, and just do nothing but chug sanity pills, and you can actively hear it get slower over time. Moroi is pretty easy to identify if you include hunts into it. A Myling, depending on what map you have, a Myling's just your average run-of-the-mill ghost. It's a little harder to hear. It's quiet. It does have a little bit more increased activity on like paranormal, like the Paramic and stuff. But if you're playing on like Thompson Street House or, any of the smaller maps, it doesn't really come into effect, the quiet part of a Myling. But if you're playing on like Bleasdale or, one of the farmhouses or a bigger map, I was doing gold trophy runs the other day, which I actually got one. It was a Banshee. But many failed attempts. I had a Myling zerg down the hallway and I did not hear it. So bigger maps, Mylings come into play, that quiet part of a Myling. Obake is S tier. Obake is S tier because Obake is forced evidence, ultraviolet. Obake has several things going for it. If you're including a hunt, it will shapeshift during a hunt. You can actually see it change ghost model. I don't know what the percent chance is. There's a lot of math in here, but I don't really care about that. So if you get hunted over and over and over and over again, and you're like looping or doing any of this stuff, and you'd never see it change ghost models, you can probably rule out Obake. Obake has another thing. Not only does it shapeshift during a hunt, it has a 6-fingered fingerprint, ultraviolet. Remember, ultraviolet is a forced evidence. So if you ever seeing, like, you're like, okay, touching a lot of doors, it's doing this, doing that, and all of a sudden, boom, you got that 6-fingered hand print on a door, or, you know, like a closet door or something, chances are it's an Obake. And there's a lot of stipulations. It could be a mimic, blah, blah, this, that. It could be a mimic Obake, whatever. The last part of an Obake, which is why I put it at S tier for figuring it out on Nightmare, is on occasion it can conceal its evidence, which it's ultraviolet. So if it's doing a bunch of door touches and you're like, oh man, it's UV, it's UV, it's UV, and you don't want to get hunted, and then one time it touches the door and you don't see the handprint or the ultraviolet, then you know it's probably an Obake. I really enjoy an Obake because it's got 3 things going for it: 6-fingered hand, conceal its ultraviolet evidence, and shapeshifts. Oni. Oni's pretty easy to figure out. If you ever get an airball ghost event, it's not an Oni. But if you're not very experienced, which I'm not terribly experienced at the blinking, an Oni will stay visible more during a hunt. It'll stay, like, it won't blink out of existence during a hunt very much. But again, I'm not that practiced at it. Maybe somebody who's practiced at it could be like S or B tier. But other than that, Oni doesn't have maybe I put Oni down here at C tier. Just because there's not a lot of going for it during a hunt, right? You know, aside from that. But I've been bamboozled before by like, oh, this is an Oni. It's not an Oni. Now we'll get to the other one. We'll get to the Phantom later, here in just a little bit. On Rio. Oh man. See, the thing is, some of these ghosts, there's always this RNG, right? There's always random numbers that go into stuff. But on Rio, I'm gonna put on Rio, like, you can have a candle and you can have it blow the candle out 3 times, and the on Rio will go into a hunt. But there's not much else for it. Like, there's not a whole lot. And I've had it to where it doesn't have to. Like, I've had it blow out a candle 3 times and it just doesn't hunt. And I know it's like 80% or below sanity or something. But Onryos are kind of like, honestly, I hate Onryos. I really do not like this ghost at all. I've been bamboozled by this ghost so many times. Moving on to Phantom. Now, a Phantom's kind of special, but I'm going to probably put this down. Like, again, this is going to include a hunt. If you're getting hunted by a ghost, you're like, where's it at? I don't see it hunting at all. It's kind of like the opposite of an Oni. An Oni, you can see all, like, more. A Phantom, you can barely see. It's kind of like a Dio and a Revenant, right? A Dio's really fast when it can't see you, slows down. A Rev is slow until it sees you, right? So, I think Phantoms are probably B tier. Man, it makes me rethink Jinn. There's so much that goes into the tier list. It can be argued, you can change all this up. This is just my own little personal interpretation of it. I'm just making a fun little video. I'm just having some fun right now. So, Poltergeist. A Poltergeist is kind of easy because I think, and I may be wrong, okay? I'm not trying to like spread misinformation, so let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. But I think a Poltergeist has an ability. One, it definitely has an ability to make a polter bomb, right? You pile a bunch of stuff up in the room and boom. But I usually pile a bunch of stuff up in a room and the ghost's like, you know what? I'm going to head to the other side of the house and make that my ghost room. But you can do is you can set a trail of junk up around a house, or set a bunch of stuff up on a table or an island or something and loop it around. If it's just like boom, 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 boom. I think every half second a polter has an ability to throw something. Other ghosts, it's like every second. So if you have a bunch of stuff lined up in a row, like 20 items, and then like every few items have been thrown, it's probably not a poltergeist. But if you get hunted by a poltergeist and everything's been thrown around, chances are it's probably a polter. Nothing really special outside of like a hunt, or its, you know, secondary ability, or like its behavior is the polter bomb, poltergeist bomb. Like, it just, you can have like 20 things. I think it's like 2 to 5%. I'm not sure. Like it can instantly do, like, blow stuff up around you and they instantly hunt because it lowers your sanity per every item there. Now a Raiju's a little weird, but they're pretty easy to identify during a hunt. If you hear a variable speed and you've got like your dots projector here, you got your camera, and you hear a ghost walking, or you know, a ghost, normal ghost speed, and then you hear it speed up really fast and then slow back down and then speed back up, chances are it's a Raiju. And this is because a Raiju, whenever it's around electronic equipment, it moves faster. So just keep that in mind. If you hear variable speed, like, that doesn't really happen. Raiju is one of the only ones that has like this fast speed, slow speed. Once you get the hang of a Raiju around your electronic equipment, like you're being hunted by it, be careful though. Raijus are kind of easy to pick up. And remember, this is all playing on nightmare mode, trying to help people get a little better at the game. Revenant's easy. Revenant doesn't really have anything special outside of when you're being hunted by it. And it's got this slow kadoo, kadoo. When it does not see you, a Revenant is almost really easy to identify. It's one of the slowest ghosts outside of a Dio, but you know, it's pretty easy to identify. Also, when it sees you, it's fast. So if you're trying to, and let's say that most of these are you're just getting hunted from the safety of a closet, right? A Raiju you can hear, like you could be in a closet, you can hear a Raiju speed up and down. Revenant will always be slow if it doesn't see, right? A Shade's gonna be D tier, man. Like a Shade, I think is 35% or below. So if you're standing in the ghost room with 0 sanity and the ghost never hunts, then it's probably a little easier to identify than I'm giving it a chance. So it's pretty, but the thing is like getting down to 35% sanity. And again, this is for newer people that are trying to like break away from professional level difficulty, right? This is kind of what this is. I think a lot of people probably don't get down to like 35% sanity with a crucifix in the room, standing in the dark, but there's not much else going for it besides that. It doesn't really do much if you're in the room with it. It won't enter a hunt if you're in the room with it. So I'm going to put it down here though. So I'm thinking I'm going to try C tier because there's nothing special for it when it's getting hunted. I know, or maybe I'll move it down to D. I'll move it down to D tier just so Onryo has some company. A Spirit, I'm going to be honest with you, I've been playing for a few hours and I decided to do this. I've been hurt by spirits so many times today. A Spirit, the thing is, this thing has a lot of random numbers, right? So a Spirit, if you get hunted by a Spirit, again, a Spirit's just a basic ass ghost. It's basic. There's nothing special about the Spirit except for smudge sticks. Every normal ghost is 90 seconds. If you smudge a ghost, then you have 90 seconds of safety. Except for a demon is 60 seconds. But a Spirit is 3 minutes, 180 seconds. But I was doing this the other day, doing a Spirit test. I've got a little thing right here, a little timer, boop, 3 minutes. But it was a twin. As soon as the timer went to 0, hunted, it was twins. Sometimes random numbers will just mess you up. But I'm going to put Spirit down here at C tier because, again, you have to be hunted. The ghost has to see you. One, the ghost has to actually try to see you and hunt you. Then you smudge it. Then you start a 3-minute timer. Then you have to wait around in the room or in the house and wait for the timer to run out to be hunted yet again. Thays are kind of weird. I'm gonna put Thay down probably around maybe B tier. Because the longer you're around a Thay, it gets older over time. Now, I've been killed a couple times by a Thay today. I think a Thay can hunt you at, like, when it's 0 years old, I think it's 75% sanity it can hunt. And they're pretty fast. But actually, I might move it down to C. Because unless you're in there for, like, a long time, there's not much you can do with a Thay. If you're getting hunted early, a Thay is kind of easy because it's fast. And it's usually doing a whole lot of stuff around the house, but you have to be in there for a long time for it to get old or get older over time. You have to be around it, like in the ghost room or whatever. But other than that, there's not a whole lot going for it. So maybe C, maybe B, maybe if you've been hunted several times, over time, several times, then maybe you can identify a Thay. Like you've been hunted, you've been in there for 20 minutes. Around there, then it's like, oh wow, this ghost is kind of slow. But it started off the first hunt fast. Then maybe I could argue B, but twins. Now, if you're going by secondary evidence, it's kind of hard. You have to have a pretty keen eye to identify a twin behavior on the activity monitor. If you're doing custom nightmare, and there's no harm in doing custom nightmare, you can actually get it set up to where you have 4 times difficulty, which is nightmare, and still have the activity monitor, insanity monitor, and the breaker turned on, okay? Tinker around with your settings. But if you include twins being hunted, I would say twins, and here's the thing. You have to get hunted by twins several times. Because the twin has its main ghost body and then a decoy, which is the same ghost, but it has a broader, larger range, right? But if you ever get hunted by a twin, and it sounds kind of fast, like, oh wow, I don't know what this is. Maybe get hunted several more times. The reason I say several, because you can get, the main twin can hunt you twice in a row. It can technically hunt you several times in a row. But it's a little faster than a normal ghost. And if there's nothing special about it, then get hunted a subsequent time. So if it's fast, and then you get hunted again and it's a little slower, I might move this down to B just because it could be a little confusing for new people. It takes a while to get used to a twin. So, and you do have to get hunted multiple times. Because you can get hunted by the decoy several times, and it's like, oh, this ghost is kind of slow. Maybe this ghost, maybe this ghost is like an aged Thay. I've been here for a little while. Maybe it's a Thay. Maybe it's just gotten a little old. But then all of a sudden it pops off on like the 3rd or 4th hunt, and it's a little faster. You're like, oh wait, maybe it's twins. So maybe B tier. Again, it's one thing to watch people play, but it's one thing to experience it first person. So maybe B tier for this. Wraith, I think Wraith's D tier. Wraith, if we're looking at like identifying a Wraith, I'm gonna put Wraith up here at S tier. Just throw a bunch of salt down. Throw a bunch. Actually, if I look at it this way, Wraith is probably S tier. Throw a bunch of salt in the room. Take every bottle of salt you have, in the house, and just throw it all over the ghost room. Or if you want to get hunted, build a line. Especially if you have like tier 2, tier 3. It's easy. Wraiths are easy. They're also, I don't like Wraiths. I put Wraiths down here B tier or D tier because the Wraith does not step in salt. So the only thing you're going to be getting if you're going for like perfect investigations, it doesn't have UV as an evidence, so you're not getting UV evidence, and doesn't step in salt. So you can't cheese and do like the 9 piles of salt in a row. So Wraith, but other than that, if you're trying to just like purely from identifying it during a hunt or just regular, it will never step in salt. So S tier probably. Although I don't really like them because it ruins because you have to like wait for like interactions, and so a yokai, I might put yokai down at D tier. I have like over 500 hours in this game, and I don't think I've ever encountered a yokai who hunts if you're talking around it, open mic or through the spirit box. I think it's 80% or below. Never really had it happen. And you can also scream at it, and it's got a range to where it won't hear you unless it's close to you. But if you're playing on a small map, it doesn't really come into play. And I've screamed at other ghosts, across on like the small maps. And like, maybe this is a yokai, like it ignored me. So I think yokais, especially during a hunt, you know what I mean? I think maybe it also detects your equipment, like your flashlight too. So I don't know. Yokais are pretty boring. And Yuris. I think Yuri honestly might be, again, if we're looking at trying to identify the evidence, this is what I'm talking about with yokai. If you're trying to count on, you got 2 evidence, you're like, what could it be? What could it be? And you're like screaming on your spirit box, it never hunt. I've never really had it happen. That's just my own personal experience. Let me know in the comments below what you think. Like, hey, I've been hunted at 80% sanity. Like as soon as I turned the spirit box on, it said something, it hunted. A Yuri has a little special ability where it can slam a door. So maybe I move this up here, but it takes a keen ear, a practiced ear, to hear a door slam. If a door goes from all the way open to slam shut, it's a Yuri. And they also have a little bit stronger effect on your sanity. So I think it's like 50. If it slams the door, you start off your 100% sanity, you walk in, the doors are open, a door slams, you walk back out like, oh shit, where'd my sanity go? Then it's probably a Yuri. And again, it could be argued, this isn't set in stone, man. This is just my own little, goofing around, my own little fun thing, trying to help some newer people out with nightmare difficulty. Banshee, easy. Paramike, the Banshee whale is pretty, like, I literally got my gold trophy a few days ago. It was my last achievement I needed. I walked in and it was the first scream. It was right out front of the chapel, right in Sunny Meadows, that hallway. First scream, Paramike, boom. It was also one of the objectives, the 3 objectives. Banshee scream. Banshees also wander a whole lot. So if you put a thing inside, like a motion sensor inside a doorway, and you like room hop, it'll follow you. Dios are pretty easy, right? Like, they're fast when they can't see you and extremely slow. You can outrun them. Mimics, you're going to get 3 evidence when you're playing on Nightmare. Obake, again, I went over Obake. They got 3 different things. They shapeshift. They can conceal their forced ultraviolet evidence. And they also have a 6-fingered hand. Revenant, slow if it doesn't see you. Like, you can hide in the closet. Hide in the closet, like, get hunted. If it's a Rev, it's slow. If it sees you, it's fast. Like, I was murked by, during my gold trophy runs, I was murked by, because I was like, where's this ghost at? I've never seen it. It's because it was a Revenant, and it was so slow trying to walk around all the Sunny Meadows. But unfortunately, once it saw me, I was dead. Wraith, again, salt. Just throw salt down, boom. If you have EMF 5 and, like, what is it, dots, and it never steps in salt, boom. Hantu, you should be able to loop a Hantu. You should be able to loop a Hantu. It never speeds up during a hunt. And if you have the breaker off, I think Hantu's also turn the breaker off more. But if you have the breaker off and you see that cold frost breath coming out of it, it's easy. Moroi, if you're getting hunted by a Moroi, just take, like, go in, hide in the closet, chug a bunch of sanity pills, and you can, like, hear it get slow. Raiju, again, a Raiju has this variable speed around electronics, so it's going to zoom all over the house, slow down, speed up, pretty easy. Demon, again, Demon's kind of that, just because it can hunt you early doesn't mean it can. Like the Doomslayer achievement or Doomslate achievement, that's to get a Demon to hunt you within 1 minute of the map, or the 1 minute of the match. It doesn't have to. Even at 70%, it doesn't have to. But they are kind of easily identifiable. If you walk in, you're like, oh man, I'm getting hunted right away. Boom, it's a Demon. Or if you're like trying to figure it out, like leave some space in a room with a crucifix, because it has a crucifix has a 50% increased range against a Demon. But you don't, I mean, again, we don't have measuring sticks, so you have to kind of eyeball around the radius and stuff. A Jinn will never turn a breaker off. If you've been in there for 4 hours and the breaker's never once been turned off, it's a Jinn. Or if you're getting sapped for 25% sanity, a Jinn's pretty easy. Phantoms, again, Phantoms are kind of easy. They don't really do much, but if you're getting hunted by a Phantom, you'll hardly ever see it. Like, it is crazy. Like, once you identify the pattern of a Phantom, they're pretty easy to identify. Poltergeist, again, just throw a bunch of junk in a row and it will throw everything around. Every once in a while, it's beautiful. I always encourage people to, if you have a chance that it's a poltergeist, throw a bunch of, take everything in the house, not equipment. It has to be items in the house that a ghost can throw, not your camera. But throw it all in a pile. It can throw your camera, but it doesn't include it in the polter bomb. And it's a beautiful thing. If you haven't experienced it, I highly recommend it. A Thay, again, Thays are kind of weird. I almost feel like moving them down to like D tier, but I'm gonna leave it alone. Thays are, again, like, they start off, they're spry, young, and fast. And the longer you're in the ghost room, the slower they get over time. Again, you have to get hunted multiple times. So twins, the main twin is faster, a little faster. The decoy twin is a little slower. So again, this is multiple hunts. This is getting multiple hunts and stuff, right? Borio, more like it. A Goryo is going to be like, I've been here for 7 hours, standing around in the light, maintaining my sanity, and I've never once seen it. And as soon as you walk out into the truck, you see it on the monitor, you see dots, like, well, okay, there it is. A mare, again, a mare is going to be turn the light off, wait 10 seconds, turn it on. If it instantly turns it back off, I've got several mares that way. But again, there is a chance that it's just a random ghost ability. So, and also if if it shuts the light off and then hunts and you're like, I'm at 70% sanity or less, then chances are it's a mare. Set between 70 and 50. Most ghosts can hunt 50 or below. There's exceptions. A myling, again, if you're playing on smaller maps, you're going to hear the myling. But mylings are really quiet. And if you're sitting there with a paramic and like every 30 seconds, like, oh my God, I've heard this thing so many times, like record-breaking amount of times on the paramic, chances are it's a myling. But again, if you're on smaller maps, big maps, if all of a sudden you turn around, the ghost is running right at you, and you never heard it, then it's probably a myling. Oni, this is kind of a little personal thing. Like, I cannot decipher an Oni blink between regular ghosts. So Oni has that. They used to, I don't know if they still do have an Oni throw. They used to launch stuff, but they don't really have anything during a hunt that's going to help you. Spirit, smudge it, wait 3 minutes. They're kind of boring. They're kind of boring, man. Like, there's nothing you're going to do during a hunt except smudge it and wait. And if it hunts again, a Yuri, again, there's nothing during a hunt for a Yuri. And there's just there's just that, I think it's the, like it's going to do the door slam and then drain your sanity 50%. Not much going for it, but not terribly bad. Once you have the ability to identify the Yuri door slam ability, you're golden, right? Onryo, again, I hate Onryo. I hate Onryo. I don't really hate. You know what I'm saying? I'm just speaking kind of like hypothetically. Like, I don't really care for a Yuri, an Onryo, or a yokai. These are my most often misinterpreted ghosts. Because in Onryo, I've screamed. I like, you can do professional, and okay, it is an Onryo. I have 3 evidence. It is definitely an Onryo. Scream it, I don't know. I've never had it work. Maybe my game's broke or something. I don't know. But again, nothing during hunt for it. Nothing. I mean, there's probably the whatchamacallit, but oh wait, no, the yokai. I'm wrong. Onryo's the candles. Oh, sorry. Onryo is the 3 candles. So you can put a candle down. If it blows it out, light it, blows it out the second time and a third time, and then it immediately hunts. Chances are it's an Onryo. I apologize. I was talking about a yokai. Shades are only going to hunt you if your sanity is below 35%, and they'll never hunt you in the ghost room. But the thing about a shade is it can just be like, I'm going to go to the next room and then I'll hunt. It can wander to the next room and then hunt you. So kind of difficult. And I'm sorry, I meant yokai earlier. You can scream at a yokai. And if you're on a big map, you can but I've never really had it I've never had it where I've screamed at the ghost, and I scream all the time. I'm pretty loud. I've never really successfully had a ghost like identify, oh, this is definitely a yokai, because I was screaming at it. It never heard me. It didn't detect my equipment or anything. Because most of us, most of the newer people are playing on like the smaller houses, especially. I think you still have to unlock them. I don't know. It's been like 3-something years since I started, so I don't remember. But again, this is my own little personal interpretation of ghosts. If you want to graduate from professional and then start dipping your toes into the nightmare realm where you only have 2 evidence, this is where things start coming into like the secondary evidence or the behaviors of the ghost. Also, I might make another video on forced evidence, which I've kind of included the forced evidence in this stuff. So certain ghosts have forced evidence. So like a Hantu is freezing. If you have 2 evidence and it's like, oh, it could be a Hantu, but it's not freezing, then you can mark a Hantu off, right? So, but anyways, I hope you enjoyed this little video. This is just for fun, by the way. Don't take it too serious. It's just a game. We're here to have fun. I'm trying to help people out. If I like messed anything up, like horribly, I'm spreading misinformation, please just shout at me, let me know. But I hope you all have a glorious day. Good luck.